Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the PR podcast, which is a new initiative by the PR Club of SIMC in association with the Clubs and Competition Cell. I am Adrija. I will be your host for this episode of the podcast, and Ayushi and I are the co-heads this year of the PR Club, and we have really been thinking so much about how to do something that's not just different but that's also fun and exciting. So we really hope that you guys like the podcast and keep tuning in for future episodes. So with that, let's get started and dive into this episode with our guest, which is Chennakeshav, as all the PR kids know. But for everybody else, it's Mr. Chennakeshav Shenoy, who is our PR faculty, and he has tremendous experience in the PR industry. That makes this super exciting for me to host this as well. So let's get started on our topic, which is PR in the post-COVID world. And obviously, as current PR students, we're all thinking about how is that going to pan out for us next year when we graduate, and for the juniors the year after that, because the world truly is a changed place today. So with that in mind, let's start this conversation. So much for being here, sir. I've personally had a lot of great experiences in your class, including our debate on different issues. So it's been great. I feel like it's the right combination of industry and academia. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Me too. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so let's start off with the first question that I have, which is how has PR been in the lockdown overall? Like, what would you say are some of the highlights from the PR industry in the last couple of months?
So let me just begin with the fact that the lockdown put a lot of pressure on a lot of different industries, and hence all our clients. The only thing that we went through as an agency that was a little different for us is that how do we engage the client now, which is feels personal, but it's not face to face. Because one of the tenets of our job or other public relations is all about is relationships. The biggest differences was that okay, now we can't meet people, whether it's the media, whether it's influencers, whether it's clients, and that kind of was a gap in working. But having said that, I think the first month, I think all of us it was just up in the air. No one knew what was going to happen. So what we did was we just did more of what we regularly do. And I think that it kind of like we wanted to, the biggest concern that any client had at that point in time was, or rather we felt the client would have is how will all our vendors, all our partners work with us? And so our first aim was to say, can we overservice at this point in time so that they don't see any gap, because even on a regular day there are times where for about a week or so you don't have anything to say to the client. You can really go without talking to them because you're doing a lot of work on your end. But what happened was we upped our work, we upped our engagement, we upped our conversations with them. We asked for more calls, we did more calls. So one of the things that we saw was we had to quickly learn. The learning curve we had to expedite it very quickly, which is learning digital, understanding how we do conversations on VCs, how are we able to find the space where we are not, and also get the client to be comfortable with it also, because it was new for them as well, because they were also not doing too many of them. So but the biggest thing that has happened is the loss of that face to face,
connection,
the tangible feel of you're right there, you're talking. So that was the biggest change. And I think by about at that point in time, if you remember back in March, we thought okay, maybe 2 months, maybe April and May, maybe March, April, maybe some parts of May. But somewhere around April we realized so this is going to be a long term. So we all started trying to gear up for okay, this is a long term requirement, and things like that. So yeah, I think the biggest difference has been uh, you're not able to do things in person, and it's a very personal thing, because what you can do and another person can do, the difference is the person itself. It's not really
Right.
the skill sets are not that different. The approach
Right.
could be different. The way you do things
Yeah.
is different, and it all comes down to who the person is on the other side that you're dealing with. And so and that is communicated best or felt best when you meet the person, and that was
In
the.
person.
But now that I see it over the last 4 months, we've been able to bridge that gap, because it's about finding the video calls and figuring out ways to like stay in touch and figuring out ways to like engage. So yeah, that's what I've seen as the biggest change, pre-COVID or pre-lockdown and now.
Yeah. So I was part of a sort of PR workshop on internal comms during my internship, and even there people were talking about how companies also invested in internal comms apps, because you don't get to talk, like don't get to meet anybody. So they're
Yeah,
developing programs and apps to get everybody on there, and they're
absolutely.
conducting activities there. So we are definitely focusing a lot more on other avenues of keeping that human touch going, even though we can't see each other in person.
Absolutely. So, yeah, tools absolutely help. So, in this particular thing, there has been a learning curve for that as well, because we in our company use Microsoft Teams. Some of us were doing this before, but I think now it was more important to do it. And the other thing
Yeah.
is, because we have got Teams, we have like everyone's on their laptop, so everyone's logged in on Teams all the time. So you just have to just click on make a phone call to the person, and you're immediately on video and you're just having conversation
Right.
very quickly. So
I think in a way, this change, it has actually made a lot of people more accessible to us, like you said. Like,
absolutely, I hear this question or I hear this answer, especially in the admission panels a lot. I love making friends. I love making relationships, and I
yes,
love writing.
yeah,
And it's not incorrect. Most of that, a person who is getting into PR knows that this is a lot about being an, I wouldn't say extrovert so much as building relationships is important, building thinking creatively is important, and that's why you get into PR or want to
yeah,
do PR. And so it's true. And now you're literally taking that out, that whole part of making
yeah.
relationships, and I think that's not happened, and that's such an important aspect,
Okay, so let's move on to the next question.
right?
How much, like, we talked about the world of PR being virtual now, but do you think there are some skills that have become redundant in a virtual PR world, or some that have become a lot more important to have?
Yeah, definitely some more skills have come into play. But in terms of things that have become redundant, um, I don't think there's anything that's no longer required. I think all the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that you teach a PR person or a new professor now, all of them pretty much stay true. Barring
Right,
maybe we would do a little bit of newspaper reading, about
right.
saying how do you scan a newspaper.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think as we go, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think the physical newspaper is just on its verge of dying,
yeah.
and at least in the English space, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
dying,
Yeah,
because so that one
yeah,
skill on the reading that I think will no longer be relevant. Reading as a skill is required, but the reading of the newspaper, how to go about reading, it's a very small thing.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
don't think that. But I can't
Okay.
think of anything that is no longer skill that's required. In fact, yeah, there's lots that you need to know now. I think that you
Mm-hmm.
definitely have to be up on things like knowing the next way of communicating, or the next social communication that's happening, that's in right now, that's available, and already know how, what are the tools that what are the features that are there on it that you need to leverage, or
Yeah,
you definitely need to have skills in terms of creating content is now going to be the next currency,
yeah.
and it's currently it's still a specialized field in the sense that there's always been a team that will be making content. But I think
Hmm.
that the tools that are available now, such as Canva or Movie Maker, or there are
Mm-hmm.
so many other things that's available now,
Yeah, yeah.
that you don't need to rely on another team with some special skills. to be able to, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to make the videos. Uh, I think even going forward, I think every single communications person has to also know how to think visually, because we
Yeah.
got away with just being able to be good at writing, but I think now we have to be good at visualizing, and
Mm-hmm.
because content is going to be consumed like that. It's going to be videos, it's going to be gifs, it's going to be images. So if I and the other part is that how do I think of one particular story in visual format and be
Yeah.
able to quickly turn it around, like literally think of a GIF,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be able to communicate something for my story that I
Yeah.
can post or I can share or I can do things with it. That I need to think
Yeah.
about literally in the morning. I need to think about it, and by 12 o'clock, by 1 o'clock, I should be able to execute. And
Right.
that means that you have to be able to think about it, create the first draft of it, get it to the client for approval. Approval comes back by 1 o'clock. The
Yeah.
speed of it
Yeah.
seems a little difficult now, but I feel that it's going to be an ask, and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a requirement, because it's going to be the thing that everyone's going to be doing. So that one of the days where you're able to just make a simple press release and get things out, it's going
Right.
to be about how do I get this out in multiple ways so that people are able to share it and talk about it, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so learning how to
Right.
make digitally, using
Mm-hmm.
different tools. So going beyond the content creation, there's also what is the new thing that everyone's been talking about is com tech tools, which is
Okay.
you knowing things like, okay, using you know how to use a chat client, okay, but do you know how to work with a scheduler, like for example
Okay.
Trello. So you're
Yeah.
able to have a
Trello.
scheduler with yourself and the client, and are you able
Mm-hmm.
to integrate very easily? So are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
The other one is going beyond. Are you able to think SEO? Are you able to think what are the search words that go with my message and where can I place them? What is
Right.
important? What are the other people using? Do I know how to use tools like SEMrush or Ahref? These are tools that are available for you to just keep a track of what are the kind of search words or search terms that are becoming important.
Mm-hmm.
Or there are tools to just keep a track of what's the social communication, or other, what is the next big trending topic, not just Twitter but in multiple platforms, what is
General.
happening,
Yeah.
that particular audience, what are they talking about, so you're able to keep a track. And so literally from
Right.
the jump,
Yeah.
like a new person should be able to walk into the agency or the
Yeah.
communications team and just sit there and say, okay, hey, I have new campaign, I've run it through my 5 6 things that I need to, things that I need, and I've also gone ahead and created content for it, and I've also figured
Right.
out where I can place the content.
They
like
said.
it's like it's everything. And
Right.
a small part of that is going to be media, a small part of that's going to be influencer, but it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the smaller part of it. Like it used to be, like, okay, to give you an idea, 2010, it was about
Mm-hmm.
99% media and 1% this. To about
Right.
2000, and there's just before the pandemic, it was about,
Yeah.
okay, 80%, or it depends on the kind of field you were in. If you were in a
Yeah.
corporate reputation management, probably did about 80% media and 20% this. If you're
Right.
doing a lifestyle product or a consumer product, you probably did
Yeah.
about 50 or 60% media and 40% this. It's completely
Mm-hmm.
switched now. Everyone has to 80% this and 20% media. It's
Media.
gonna
Right.
it's a huge shift in the way we have to think, in the huge shift in the way we have to create products, create content, create
Yeah.
strategies. The logic before was, can we get the most efficient way to communicate to people?
Right.
And previously, or like 10 years ago, the concept was you didn't know where they were, or you
Yeah.
didn't know how to communicate to them. So
Yeah.
you just went to a place like a media house
Yeah.
or a website who you thought was probably catering to them. And so you would
Right.
just work with them and hope that you hit the maximum number of people in that bracket.
Yeah.
Now, because of the tools that we have and because of the kind of understanding information we have about where these 25 to 30-year-olds in that segment
Yeah.
looking for a particular top product, which is our product. It could be a
Yeah.
house, it could be a car. So I
Yeah.
know who they are. So now, and I also have gone back and figured out what are they discussing, what are the challenges, what are the concerns. And then
Right.
if all of this information I didn't have before, it was much more difficult to get that stuff.
Yeah.
Now because I have it, I'm able to target and segment my communication to that particular audience. So the point is,
Okay.
it's targeted to that place. And
Okay.
and
Okay.
the difference now as a digital marketer or a person who's thinking about what kind of campaign I can run is waiting for a campaign or a video or an image or something that he wants to take, and then he wants to direct it at them from a
Hmm.
product perspective. But
Right.
the fact is, what PR did before is still going to be doing it, which is that I don't want this person to buy my product by just pushing content to him saying, buy my product, buy my product. I
Yeah.
want to be able to communicate to him why it makes sense for him to buy the product. To find a way to communicate to her that this is what she needs or this is what she's looking for. She has there is a, the advertising is going to be pushing at her saying this is available for you,
Yeah.
versus a PR person's communication content will be, I hear that this is your concern. Let me just explain
Yeah.
to you what this means. And then by virtue of that, you want to learn more, and I try to pull her into my content. And so
Right.
that's a difference. Going forward, it's going to be about that. It's about moving from finding a large media house or a large publication and just giving your content to
Right.
gain reputation to saying, I'm just going directly to the audience. I know who the
Right.
audience is,
Okay.
I know where
Okay.
they are,
Got it. Yeah.
and I know specifically what three things that they're concerned about, and I can answer
Yeah.
those three concerns and then try to win them over. So
Okay.
it's a different way of doing it, and you need all of these tools. You need to know, okay, how to do SEO. You need to know how to do analytics. How does analytics work? Where do these people come from? Where do they typically, what kind of place they come from? Can I use a
Right.
way to figure out, do A/B testing with like
Right.
content
Yeah.
itself? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how that works. I need to be able to do things like analyze my research and understand where my challenges are in my campaign. Can I quickly change it? Like those
Yeah.
things which are restricted right now to advertising or campaign
Yeah.
planning are going to
Yeah.
be used for PR,
PR
and
as well.
that's where it's going to go to.
Mm. That actually leads me right into my next question, which is as SIMC students, we don't just learn PR. We learn about marketing overall. We learn about media planning. We learn about advertising. We even learn a little bit of an analytics. So I think that's going to play well then in that case, because we already have a little bit of a
Absolutely.
grounding.
I wouldn't say just grounding. I think it's that, like, even in the case of SIMC students, right? We've seen that people who are doing media planning or brand communications are also doing PR, and that's because there's nothing about only doing the PR course that makes you ready for PR than not. So
Right.
because you know all of these other things, you know about marketing, you know about market research, you've
Yeah.
already started thinking in that the orientation is there.
Right.
Uh, I think that what I would say is that whatever you're doing is from the curriculum is good, but that should be your starting point.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
what's happening is, and this is not an attack or saying that the curriculum is dated, but I want to say that it takes time for curriculum to catch up to the real world. It's a fact, and it's
Yeah.
not anyone's fault. It's just
Yeah.
the way curriculums are set are usually it's a question of the response takes time, and
Yeah.
also the curriculum cannot change for every fad. It has to be that the fad has to find itself, become a real thing, and then it will
Yeah.
become a part of the curriculum. So what I'm trying to say is that while curriculum is good and you're already doing it, it's about
Mm-hmm.
now can you apply that curriculum, figuring out other tools that you can learn, other things that you can do that kind of make you more adept at using that. So whether it
Yeah.
is so much to the level of saying that I think every SIMC student should now look at figuring out ways to having their own website, going out
Right.
there and putting their own website, figuring out content, picking up some topic, trying to create like a web page for themselves, a YouTube page for themselves, a Twitter page for themselves for this project. Learn
Right.
things like, okay, what is the analytics for my page? Where are people coming
Right.
from? Are people coming to my page? Can
Mm-hmm.
I figure out how do I find that where my YouTube videos are being watched? What exactly is, and how do I edit it? So you learn by creating a project for yourself, a small one. It could be something that
Right.
you care about,
Yeah.
and you start figuring out all the whole
Whole
through
process. Yeah.
about and things like, okay, if I'm doing this seriously, that means I need to have a content calendar for myself, which is
Yeah.
a 3 month
Yeah.
calendar or a month calendar, and I think about,
Yeah.
okay, what is my audience? What kind of audience am I trying to attract? What would they like to hear about? And start working things like that. So effectively, I would love to see all of you guys actually create your own websites. So you learn, okay, how do you create your social sites that connect to the website? How are you managing the website from a back end? You're understanding where the analytics of the website is.
Right.
Then you're understanding, okay, creating content, which is whether it's blog content or GIF content or infographics or whatever. You kind of like go to the whole method, and it's like literally, if you do this now as a pet project for yourself, it's not a pet project. It's going to be a serious project for yourself, because it's going to be like, imagine at the end of the year, even if you have something which has got not too many, maybe 1,000 people following it, right? Or 1,000 people, and you have like understanding of how to run this, that you can go back to anybody saying that it's a part of your portfolio. Hey, listen, I have done all of this now in a year's time. I am digitally not just ready, I have done this. So it's a question of I can bring all these skill sets to you. And I think it's tremendously beneficial, because and also it's going to set you apart from probably every other communication student out there. Because you're not just saying, I know Google Analytics, I know search engine optimization, I am aware of Google Ads or Google Display Network. Okay, great, you're aware. So what? What do I do? How do I know that you actually can execute for me, right? But if you have been doing it for a year or even 6 months, or you can show me something and say, hey, it's like make like a Canva presentation of, here's my website, here's the traffic, here's what I did, here's what's happening. Can you imagine the power? As a recruiter would look at that and go, I want you on my team now.
Because you have like actual real world tangible things to show for it. So of course recruiters going to be looking differently when they're hiring next year as well.
Big part of this is going to be this. A big part of the recruiters ask is going to be, how comfortable are you? Are you able to do this for me? Because you can take a person who understands all of these things from a digital marketing side and teach them PR. You can do that.
Yes.
I could do that. But for me to have to sit and teach you to do all of this is an investment that I have to do. Right. So, but if I teach you that, okay, you're a bright person, but you also know all of these things, it's so much easier for me to say, yes, it makes sense for me. And sending the website across and saying, here's the website, and here's my deck to show you what I did with it. Tremendously beneficial for you, because you're walking the walk. You're not just one of the most interesting things that I remember hearing years ago. This is 2006 or something like that. So what happened was the final year of BMM, Wilson BMM, this person wanted to get recruited in an advertising agency.
Even I went to Wilson for BMM.
This is 2007. But yeah. So you know what I'm talking about, the kind of people who go to Wilson BMM. So now this person literally put the CV that he submitted for this job or for that in campus placement was like a packet of Maggie. It was a packet of Maggie, the proper packet, like it had Maggie inside.
Right.
And on the flip side, the whole CV was on the back of the Maggie packet.
Okay.
So it showed all the things that he was capable of doing. What are the ingredients about him? How to use him? What can he do? How can he bring out? So it's like you are not just talking. Because when you're a college guy, or you're a graduate or about to graduate, you don't have a book. You don't have samples. You probably going to have like, okay, I've made these specs. I've done these 15 spec copies that I can show you of how good I am. Or I can show you something really cool, like really out of the bloody box. And that's when a person goes, I want you on my team, because clearly you are able to think at that level. Right. For me, for a recruiter, for PR, for me, the main thing is going to be, okay, you're good, you can write, you can speak, that's good, but these skills, which I need, do you have them? And if you have them, great. And remember, the person who's interviewing you is probably in most cases would not have learned any of this in their, or doesn't know this in his own or her own life until like 2 years ago. So when they see this generation, there's a lot of expectation that the generation that's coming into the workplace now will have already these tools with them because they're digitally native. The word digitally native.
Yeah.
Right? You already know this stuff, but the confidence of saying, knowing it, consuming it to actually creating it is a different thing. So that part of it, if you are able to take it to that next level, and I know some of you are like you're doing this program, the other students will be participating in other cells, and all that is good. That's important to do, but it's difficult for you to take that to. You all will write like one line saying I was a part of so and so cell in SIMC, which is good, but it's not communicating to a recruiter what you have. But if you do something like this, it's tangible, it's available, and by the way, like I said, it's got nothing to do with how many people you actually are actually able to get to the website. It's not that. It's about have I been able to understand tracking traffic, tracking analytics, understanding these elements. I have been putting up content for a year. So you're still able to show. It is not about how successful the blog or the website gets. It's more about I did this. Which is different from I know how to do it. And that shows initiative, it shows experience, it shows understanding, it shows drive. If you can't get better than that, I think for me it would be like if all of y'all just did this in different formats, it would be fabulous.
Yeah. Actually, I think we already covered most pertinent question of this podcast, which is how do you future-proof yourself in a situation like this for when you're going to get hired next year, hopefully?
I don't think that, I'll tell you what, I had a very interesting conversation, in fact, this morning with my managing director of our company. And he told me, hey, listen, I need to talk to you either today or tomorrow. We need to go back and figure out how to recruit more people. We're in the middle of July. And he's already thinking about getting more people on, and it's not because he just wants to add more people. It's just because he knows that there is more demand coming, And so this whole fear that you have because you see the market right now, we don't know what's going to happen. Trust me, the noise that you hear. So there is this beautiful concept called signal and the noise. So there's signal, which is the actual truth, and then there's a lot of noise garbled around.
Right,
So what we typically hear is the noise. So we have to be able to, so if you hear things that, oh my God, things are going to be horrible, oh my God, you can see that there is something beyond it. People are not looking at it. People are not being able to tap into what's going on, and they are just like, falling for it. Point is, for the PR people, for the batch, for SIMC overall, brands will need to communicate. Organizations will need to communicate. They are still going to be, we're not saying capitalism bye-bye. You still have that. So it's a question of what they require. And so the one thing that's going to happen is, just like a lot of your colleagues or your seniors in the brand com side did not care that they got a job in advertising. They went and did other things. Some of them joined media, market research, some of them joined PR, some of them joined whatever. So it's a question of, if advertising no longer continues for whatever reason, or advertising does not take more people, then can you do other things? Can you look at digital marketing? Can you go into the fields of social media? Can you go into PR? Can you go into other places which is going to give you those opportunities? So there's always opportunities available. It's a question of saying, by the virtue of being in one of the premier colleges for communication in this country, there's no question that it's going to be a win for you guys. The question is, how can you stand apart and find yourself in a space saying that, okay, I am able to give you something which nobody else can, or rather, I have the ability to add to your team tremendously. And so you should focus on that, and that's the real answer. Campus placements, will they happen the way they did last year? Maybe not. But the question is, everyone has changed. Everyone has changed. We can't expect that what happened last year or this year is going to happen next year.
Again.
Right? So figure out, okay, where your skills will be required. So that's because literally you're saying that if you go back to the same place and expect that that same company will come back. So let's say if Adfactors came and picked up 10 people last year. Will they come this year and pick up 10 people? Maybe not. But there will be other places who will require the skill. So that's always going to be true. And I think it's a question of, we're a growing country, okay? Regardless of what the GDP and things and all are saying. We're a growing country. People are still looking to set up businesses here. People are still looking for consumer demand will come back. It's going to take its time. thankfully for you guys, by the time you're supposed to come out by about May, June next year,
Yeah.
things should be much better than where they are today. So what I'm saying is, you get prepared. You don't get muddled by, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Right.
Do we have jobs? Do we know what's going to happen? How it's going to be? Don't focus on that. Your job is now to be learning right now, absorbing, experimenting, do all of that. Don't waste your time thinking about the economy. Don't waste your time thinking about whether recruiters will come. And one of the best and most impressive things that I thought I saw this year from your batch, about how a lot of you guys did not get your internships because the internships were reneged last minute, and how a lot of you all went out there and found a way to get an internship, get a job. I mean, it's tremendous, right? I mean, I don't see why that kind of drive is not going to be there present when you guys come up again.
Yeah. And actually our whole batch did get an internship by the end of it. Everybody was placed. So that was a very proud moment.
I'm very proud of you guys because you all have been able to do that.
Sir.
I'm like, it's amazing. And it also shows that, there is the drive is there within you to do this stuff. So why would external things, or whether they come to campus, whether they don't come to campus, should bother you? I think that instead use your energies in trying to figure out how you can do these things more, these things better. That's when you will be able to take it to the next level and achieve. I don't think you should be focused on.
Right.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat all of this stuff right now.
Yeah.
Is my thinking.
So when we spoke earlier, when we were having a discussion about the podcast, you mentioned how important branding yourself is, like personal branding. So do you want to tell the students, like our listeners, something about how to go towards that goal, like how to achieve that?
Okay. It's a whole different podcast on its own, how to do branding yourself. But I'll tell you, in a gist, let me just say that what happens typically for every single individual is that when we are brought up as our own culture, I wouldn't say only in our culture, but definitely in our culture, because I understand our culture. And as Indians, we are very we've been told right from the beginning that we should not be boasting. That's how we've been conditioned to say it's not a big deal. We've been conditioned to not tell people, okay, I have achieved so and so. Anybody who does that seems like a person who's gloating or is boasting or all of those things. So what happens is that because of that, it's kind of cut like a big disadvantage for most people, because we tend to not want to talk about ourselves. You have to do smart branding. People should know what you stand for, what you're capable of doing. People who will engage with you, these people will know what you're capable of. That's great. And they will not spend their time and energy trying to propagate you outside. But it's going to be you who does that for yourself. So you have to get out of the mindset of saying, I don't boast about myself, or I don't claim things about myself. Every one of you people, go back to your LinkedIns and see what you all have put up. If you go back and look at your LinkedIns and figure out what have you added. Do you have a plus, a 5-star profile on LinkedIn? I mean, LinkedIn tells you how to game it. How to add things. You keep adding different elements to be able to get the highest level of a profile. Why is it important? Because that's the kind of profile that shows up first. That's the profile that comes up on recruiters' profiles first, because you've added all those elements. Right? So just a simple fact like that. Start with that. And then figure out, okay, do you want to have your own website? Do you want to be able to understand, okay, how do I take this thing that I did, what I'm good at, or what I'm good at, how do I, communicate to people? One idea that I had given you when we discussed in the podcast was, all of you people were able to do your internship. Can you make a 90-second video about what you did for your internship? Or can you get your company, that your reporting manager or the company, to be able to do this exact thing, what you're doing right now? Create a 90-second, give me a 90-second video of me, right? Tell me about what you thought about me and what I was capable of. And then post that in your LinkedIn profile. Let people watch it. Because just getting a certificate saying I did work, that could be anything. You could be horrible. What if you were like not sending documents on time and things? I don't know. But the idea of getting a video from a person, actually getting a video, whether it's a 30-second or a 90-second or whatever else you want to get, that itself says so much about the fact that you asked, be able to put it out there. As a recruiter, I'm able to watch it and say, hey, Adrisha did so and so good work. Nice, interesting. And I know now more about her.
So it really brings in another very important factor here. So
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that first get out of the mindset of saying, I can't talk about myself.
right.
Once you're out of that mindset, and it's not a like this, it's a gradual process, but
Yeah.
have the orientation that it's not bad to talk about myself. It's about how do I do it and with what background am I doing
Yeah.
it. And after doing that, can I stay humble? Can I be a humble
Right.
person
Yeah.
having done that? Because humility is okay. So here's a simple answer for everyone. Okay, what does it mean? What does this mean? Next time if you are wearing something good and or you're doing a video and the person on the other side says, hey, you're looking good today,
Right.
your response should never be balls. You're just being well.
Yeah.
Or you turn around and say, you just look at that person and say, thank you so much, you made my day by saying that.
Yeah.
Two things happen by that. First, you're not belittle the person who's given you a compliment. You made
Yeah.
the person feel good because you acknowledged it.
Yeah.
And two,
Mm-hmm.
you have owned that you look good today.
Yeah.
And so you feel good. So
Yeah.
instead of pushing that person back, you accept it. Do that as an
Accepting it.
exercise for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you
Yeah.
accept it and you start becoming, okay. Someone says, Adrisha, you're good at your work. You don't turn around and say, this was nothing, no big deal. No, you gotta turn around and say,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. What exactly did you like about it? And I think
Yeah.
that I can, keep that as something as a strength of mine.
Right.
And that's how we have to progress like that. And then you go into packaging, say, okay, can I now let other people know that, this is what people like about it.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, I'm good at so and so, like whenever I've done projects, I've been able to do it in this way and people have appreciated it.
Yeah.
Can I say it like that? And can I package it like that? And that's how the difference between not saying anything about yourself and just saying, hopefully people will recognize one day, okay, I'm a great worker. No, it's never going to happen. Nobody recognizes.
Right.
Nobody recognizes. No one's ever going to give you something that you because you deserve it from some. No one's going to look for you and say, okay, here, we realize you're a very hard worker and hence we give you this thing. No, it's when you figure out ways to let everybody know. So your influence should grow such a large place that people who never interacted with you should also know this person's good at their job.
Right.
Regardless, like I don't know, somebody who they trust has that perception. That's it. That's what PR is, right? And that's what we have to do, self-PR.
Yeah.
That we should have another person have that feeling about us. And right now I feel that about SIMC students. I have at a very individual level been doing it for the last 4-5 years. Everyone I tell, I'm like, there is a difference. SIMC students have this multiple layers of advantages. I give all of this. I do it at my own personal level.
Yes, so thank you so much.
But my convictions are there. At the same time, I also feel that it's what's required. And everyone, if they go out and say that, is when you have that feeling of, okay, SIMC student means there's a premium, there's a value for things like that. So it's required, and all of you should do it when you go out there and start working. Also talk about the advantages that you guys had, so that other people see the value in SIMC students.
Yeah. So a lot of it is about really owning our strengths and kind of putting that out there. Yeah.
Own it with conviction.
So we're almost near the end of the podcast. So I have 2 questions left. The first one is, what about entrepreneurs or people who want to do something, go off on their own and want to do something in the media field right now, like in our batch? What advice would you give to them?
I would say that go for it. I think that the one thing I would like to say is that if any of you want to become an entrepreneur, have your own business right now, there are 1 or 2 questions you have to ask yourself. Number 1, have I worked before in terms of in some capacity? Whether I've worked for somebody who is not my father, not my mother, not my family. If I've worked for a person who had no reason to protect me, then that's a good. It means I already know what it is to be humble and what it is to take feedback, which is very crucial for an entrepreneur. And number 2, if you have the experience, some amount of experience in some field around it, then you will be able to start your own business, bootstrap it. But if you don't have any experience doing it, then I would suggest you get some experience, whether it's 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, doing something around it, in and around it, so that you're able to gain about how others do it, and then you can go back and trash that whole thing and do your own thing. But at least you have a sense of it, because you go into it. Like today, I can't say that I want to go up and start my own restaurant business, because I've worked in a shop before, but I've not really worked in a restaurant. It's a whole different game. And it's destined to fail unless I work with somebody who has or I have a partner who has
Has
experience.
that
So you have some media
experience.
experience, right? You've done media before. So if you want to
Yeah.
do some content, and if
Yeah.
I would say that in your particular case, if you want to become a content company, and you have if 3-4 people in a batch join you, and you
Right.
all decide that you all want to do this, at least because you have some background in it, you will be able to create some. Okay, there's an order. There are deadlines. One of the
Yeah.
biggest problems that people have is they don't know what a deadline is.
Yeah.
So there are various things to learn in a company, which or any kind of place, any kind of workplace. You have to you get that. So unless you have some experience in that field that you want to work on,
Right.
it becomes difficult. And first question I said that if you worked before anywhere, somewhere, something,
Yeah.
because if you don't have that background of that I know what it is to take some shit from a person. Sorry to say shit, but take
It's
basically
okay.
they get fired at by a person
Yeah.
who's if I don't have that, then I don't know what it is to take feedback. And that kind of can be a real problem for you. So, yeah, there is opportunity. There are
Right.
lots of people who are coming up with their own businesses right now. So, you have to find a niche for yourself. So, don't go out and say, I'm going to compete with like a company that's been around for 10, 15 years. It's going to be super
Right.
difficult. But if you're going to create
Yeah.
a niche for yourself,
Hmm.
and so, I mean, and if you know that niche is and you're able to go do it, then I would say, yes, you should figure out
Okay.
something that no one else can at your budget and your scale. If you
Okay.
can do that, then go ahead and do it. But word of caution, right now, bad time when you come out to be able to start your own place because it's just going to be like too many things are fluid right now. So if you can get a
Yeah.
job, get one, see what things are like, create your plans, and then ship it out in like a year's time after that is what I would
Right.
suggest.
Okay.
But I'm not saying it's not impossible to put your own thing. It's just very very difficult. And if
Okay.
anybody wants to get a consultant on that, would definitely come to me. I'm happy to be a consultant for anybody who wants to do something in this field and start up their own thing. I'm happy to consult them. I'll charge a fee. I'm
Okay.
not going to do it for free. But yeah,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's something you could do.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I've actually thought about doing that myself at multiple points, but I always feel like I don't have enough knowledge to go off and do that on my own yet.
You're never going to.
Um,
You're never
yeah,
going
I
to.
think
So
I'm
that's
realizing
the
that now.
there's that leap of faith you have to take sometimes. So it's never going to be like you're 100% sure. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. And finally, our last question is actually it's for the new students who are coming in. A new batch is joining in about just about right now. So, and a lot of them would be interested in PR. So, what would you say to them?
I would say it's a fabulous opportunity. PR is going to be the one place that's going to remain a very important element as we have, as you can see that first it was advertising. People didn't believe in advertising anymore. Then it was social
Yeah.
media, and people don't believe in trust social media anymore. People are going to go back to the original institutions of the companies to believe them again, or at least go back and say, okay, I can trust an institution when it's if an Uber tells me that this is what's happening, I will trust them. Or if this is a Byju's that says this is what's happening, I will trust them. Or if it's
Right.
a HUL is saying this is good for me, I will trust them. It's kind of
Mhm.
coming back to that. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
reputation building, PR, communicating stories, still going to be a very crucial element. In
Mhm.
fact, brand media analysis, all of those guys are now starting to figure out how to tell stories, which is what PR does,
Yeah.
because they're realizing that that's got more currency and more value. So definitely PR is going to be the thing that if you pick up, there's a lot of opportunity. It's
Yeah.
still fluid, so you got to do multiple things to figure out what exactly you ultimately end up doing. But
Mhm.
pretty much it's about telling a tale, telling a story, participating in a conversation to be able to drive your messages. That's what PR is. And so it's only going to grow. It's only going to become a huge thing.
That's good to hear, definitely for them and for us as well. So, thank you so much for being on the very first episode of the PR podcast.
I'm
So,
happy to be the premier guy. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
thank you, and hopefully, we will see you soon in person.
Yeah, I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that I was really looking forward to see the current batch, meet them. But I don't know what things are going to be like. But at least
Yeah,
we're going to do the sessions, is what I understand. I am looking forward to seeing you guys and also the new batch whenever I get to see you in second
yeah.
sem. Hopefully, second sem is going to be in person rather than like this. Let's see. But I look forward to seeing you guys.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Stay safe, everybody. Um, it's still serious business. Please stay at home. Please stay safe and take care of your loved ones. That's what I would like to say.
And that was it for our first episode. We really hope that you guys enjoyed it. And we look forward to bringing you more content on this podcast. And we hope we will keep seeing you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay safe, stay home.